Rikuo was a happy-go-lucky boy until he watched his father die in a pool of blood when he was just 5 years old. At school, when he tried to share stories about the kind demon who raised him, his classmates mocked him and called him a freak. Day after day, they left him sitting alone while they laughed behind his back. On verge of being broken, Rikuo accidentally discovers his sealed demonic powers. However, before any of this, on a stormy night, Rikuo walks into a place where a guy is waiting for him. The guy looks at Rikuo and asks if he will turn back into human once the morning comes and if he will end up forgetting that he is a demon. After asking this, the guy pushes his sword up against Rikuo's neck, but Rikuo quickly pulls out his own sword and says that he is going to be the third commander. It turns out that Rikuo is a two-faced person who stands as the head of thousands of demons. The next day, a young boy gathers all the demons around him and warns them seriously that they must not go inside the abandoned building that stands right next to his school. After that, one of the demons asks him why they are not allowed to go there, but Rikuo does not give a clear answer and instead says that it does not matter and heads off toward his school. On his way out, Rikuo ends up running into Gyuki, who turns out to be the same man he faced that night. Meanwhile, the other demons begin to whisper among themselves, thinking that Gyuki is secretly trying to overthrow Rikuo and steal the position of the third commander for himself. On the other hand, Gyuki meets up with his head commander and says that Rikuo is becoming more like humans. Due to this, the demons have lost the respect that made humans fear them. Meanwhile, at school, a group of girls are busy gossiping about the abandoned school building and how they have heard rumors that demons are actually living inside that creepy place. However, Kana says she does not believe such things and turns to Rikuo asking if he agrees with her, to which he nods. Later, a boy named Kyatsugu gathers everyone together and tells them that they should go on an expedition into the abandoned school building tonight, and everyone agrees to join in, including Rikuo. Kyatsugu adds that there might be demons, but Kana refuses to believe that, which makes Rikuo sweat even more as he tries not to show his worry. Deep down, Rikuo feels a bit safe since he already made sure earlier that all the demons from his side would stay away from the abandoned school building. Later that night, the commander asks Rikuo if he has thought about the idea of becoming the third commander, but Rikuo says that he will not change his mind and then walks away to join his group of friends. At the abandoned school building, Rikuo and his classmates begin exploring the dark and dusty area, but Rikuo quickly starts to sense the hidden presence of several demons lurking around. As they step further inside, a blonde-haired boy suddenly gets frightened by the creepy-looking statues, which makes Kana even more scared than before. While the others are distracted, Rikuo quietly searches through the shelves and ends up finding a small girl demon hiding there. But instead of reacting, he simply ignores her and continues walking away without saying anything. Rikuo then again sees some more and wonders about what clan they are from. Afterward, the demons begin their paranormal activities all over the place, but Rikuo tries his best to cover it up, acting that he was the one who was doing. Afterward, a large spider-type demon crawls out of the shadows and suddenly rushes toward the group. But Rikuo's loyal demons Yuki Anna and Ayatabo quickly appear to protect him. They fight against the creature together and manage to defeat it, and after the battle they tell Rikuo that they have always been by his side, watching over him and keeping him safe from danger. A moment later, they reveal that they have another form and transform back into their disguises as Rikuo's classmates Yuki and Ayatabo. After this, Rikuo takes Kana along with him to the Nura house, which surprises her as how grand the mansion looks like. Later that night, Rikuo wakes up from his sleep and walks outside, where he sees sakura petals falling from the tree, and sitting up on one of the branches is his demon form watching him. The demon form asks Rikuo if he truly wants to become stronger, but then warns him that wishing for strength without knowing the true meaning behind it will not make him truly powerful. Before Rikuo can say anything more, the demon form suddenly disappears from the branch, leaving him alone under the falling petals. The next day, Zen comes to visit the Nura house, and everyone there greets him with excitement and warm welcomes. Afterward, Zen sits down to meet with the Supreme Commander and Gyuki, and while talking he shows that he is eager to see Rikuo, who is about to return home soon. However, Gyuki tells him that since Rikuo has not yet ascended to the position of commander, Zen should not call him the third commander. Just then, Rikuo comes home from school and is surprised to see a bunch of demons happily eating some very expensive-looking sweets in the room. The commander soon walks in, and Rikuo quickly grabs him by the collar and demands to know if he stole those sweets from somewhere. But the other demons explain that the treats were actually sent by Zen-sama. Hearing this, Rikuo hurries off to the parlor where he finds Zen sitting and waiting for him, while many demons secretly watch from the ceiling above. Rikuo feels excited and happy to see Zen again after such a long time, while the demons whisper among themselves, wondering why Zen has come here and remembering how he used to play with Rikuo when they were both little. At that moment, Yuki walks in carrying 2 cups of hot tea to serve them, but she trips by accident and ends up spilling all of it right onto Rikuo. Zen suddenly throws some kind of skill that freezes Rikuo by mistake, which makes Yuki embarrassed and causes her to run away from the room in a hurry. After that, Zen tells Rikuo that he cannot wait to see him inherit the position of the third commander of the Nura family, but Rikuo shakes his head and says that he cannot accept it. Hearing this, Zen becomes furious and lashes out, even trying to kill Rikuo in his anger while Rikuo's own demons panic and run away instead of staying to help him. Afterward, Zen and his snake leave the room but meet Yuki on his way. While they are moving, Zen's snake suddenly speaks to him and tells him to break all ties with the Nura clan, but Zen refuses, saying that the clan has helped him a lot in the past and he cannot turn his back on them. Suddenly, they are attacked by someone from the shadows, and it turns out that the attacker is none other than Zen's own snake, Hebideyu, who angrily tells Zen that he has betrayed him by choosing to side with the Nura clan. Just as Hebideyu lunges forward to strike Zen, Rikuo's crow suddenly appears in front of him and takes the full attack, saving Zen from harm. Immediately after, Rikuo transforms into his demon form and he kills Hebideyu using his katana. However, Zen cannot believe that the person in front of him is actually Rikuo. Later, they sit together quietly, and Zen mutters to himself, cursing the fact that he has ended up like this even though he is supposed to be a full-fledged demon. After a moment, he asks Rikuo to exchange sake cups with him as a pledge of loyalty to the Nura clan, showing how serious he is about the bond. Afterward, Rikuo prepares to go home and tells his crow that he is determined to eventually succeed and become the third commander of the clan. The next day at school, a new student arrives from Kyoto and joins Rikuo's class, and she introduces herself to everyone as Yura. Later, during class, Kiyotsugu hands out a demon quiz and asks which of the following demons is known to always be accompanied by birds, giving 3 possible options for everyone to choose from. When Shima picks option C with confidence, it turns out to be wrong, and the real correct answer is actually option B. Just as Kiyotsugu begins to explain the purpose of fire demons, the new girl Yura quickly interrupts and says that their goal is to spread fear among people. She goes on to explain further that the most dangerous ones of all are the beasts that have turned into demons, since they can even harm their fellow demons without mercy. Hearing her words, both Kana and Rikuo turn to look at her closely, wondering if she might be a demon herself. Afterward, Kiyotsugu becomes excited and asks Yura to join their Pure Cross Mystery Detective Corps, a group he has just created for the purpose of searching for demons. Kiyotsugu says that they will hold a ceremony at Rikuo's house, which shocks him, but everyone else quickly agrees because they think his house is haunted and it will be fun to see it at night. At the same time, Yuki, Anna, and Ayatabo are listening from the side and decide that they should help Rikuo out. Later, when Rikuo walks back home with Ayatabo and Yuki, they step inside and see that all the demons are having a big party, laughing and eating, and they tell Rikuo that they are celebrating because he transformed into his demon form last night. Rikuo then explains that his school friends are going to visit the house soon, which shocks all the demons, and everyone immediately starts cleaning the place in a hurry. Later that night, Kiyotsugu, Kana, Yura, and the other boy arrive at the mansion, and Yura looks around the old house and tells Rikuo that demons usually live in big old mansions like this one. Afterward, the group begins walking around the mansion while the demons inside do their best to hide so they will not be noticed. Soon, everyone gathers and sits together in one of the rooms, where Kiyotsugu tells them that they should start discussing the results of their research on what kind of demons they should be looking for. Right then, a scary-looking demon with long hair comes in to serve them some tea, but Rikuo quickly sends her out of the room before anyone can react. The others immediately start asking who she was, so Rikuo tells them that she is just a helper who works at his house. Rikuo then leaves the room and warns the demon not to show herself again, but when he comes back, he sees that everyone has already left to go search for demons on their own. Rikuo rushes to catch up with them, but Yura is already leading the group, determined to find demons in the mansion. The group keeps checking and searching through every single room in the mansion one by one, but in the end, they do not find anything at all. Suddenly, an evil rat demon appears out of nowhere and runs across the floor, which makes Kana and the others scream in fear, but Yura immediately chases after it. While everyone is shocked, she reveals that she is actually an Onmyoji, and with her skills she quickly destroys the rat demon. Afterward, she explains to the group that she is a descendant of the Kikane family of Onmyoji, whose work for generations in Kyoto has been hunting and exterminating demons. Once everything settles down, everyone leaves Rikuo's house, and Yura walks together with Kana toward her own home, but on the way, they get stopped by a group of evil-looking people. It turns out that they are the Rat Demon Gang, but Yura stays calm and summons her wolf spirit, which attacks and wipes out the rats in front of them. Afterward, the leader of the Rat Gang, Kyuso, walks up to Yura and mocks her by saying that it is strange for the third commander to have such unusual taste in choosing an Onmyoji as a friend. He then tells Yura to put away her wolf spirit and even try to touch her face, but she quickly slaps his hand away. At that moment, Kana suddenly starts screaming because a swarm of rats surrounds her and traps her in place, so Yura yells at Kyuso to leave Kana alone. However, Kyuso ignores her words and again orders Yura to put away her wolf, and when she finally does, he takes the chance to slap her hard and she gets unconscious. Meanwhile, at the Nura house, two demons named Kuretabo and Kubanashi talk about how the rat they saw earlier belonged to the Kyuso clan. Kuretabo then asks what happened between Kubanashi and the leader of the Kyuso clan, but Kubanashi says nothing and simply walks away. Sometime later, another rat shows up and introduces himself to Rikuo as an errand rat working for the Kyuso clan. He tells Rikuo that his friends Yura and Kana have been kidnapped by a group of bad-looking men, which makes Rikuo immediately want to rush out and save them. However, the rat warns him not to go, saying that since Yura is an onmyoji, no one will be willing to step forward and help her anyway. While this is happening, a small demon secretly eavesdrops on their talk and decides to follow them, and the rat eventually leads Rikuo toward a large mansion. Just then, two rats suddenly attack Rikuo and drag him to Kyuso, who shows him that Yura and Kana are locked inside a cage. When Rikuo tries to step forward and help them, one of Kyuso's men kicks him hard to stop him. Kyuso then tells Rikuo that both girls will die when morning comes, and the only way to save them is if Rikuo publicly announces that he will not become the third commander. After saying this, they kick Rikuo out of the place and leave him on his own. On his way back, he comes across an injured man who introduces himself as Ryo Taniko, the leader of the Bakaniko clan. Suddenly, more rats begin approaching, so Rikuo and Ryo Taniko quickly hide, and then Rikuo decides to take him safely back to the mansion. Afterward, Rikuo writes a letter declaring that he will give up on being the third commander, and he orders Karasu to deliver it right away to all the clan leaders across the country. Just then, the Supreme Commander walks into the room and says that he already knows about the Kyuso clan, calling them nothing more than leftover trash that should have been wiped out long ago. At the same moment, Ryo Taniko wakes up and insists on going to fight Kyuso by himself, even though he can barely walk properly. Suddenly, Rikuo transforms into his demon form right in front of everyone, which shocks them completely. After that, Rikuo gathers his demon army and they all head straight to Kyuso's mansion together. Once they arrive, they manage to free Yura and Kana from their cage, while the rest of the army begins clashing with Kyuso and his forces. Soon, Kyuso transforms into a massive rat, towering over the others, and Ryo Taniko tries to face him alone. However, Rikuo steps in and uses his Sakura water attack on Kyuso, causing him to suffer in pain until he finally collapses and dies. The next day at school, Yura apologizes to Kana because she feels that everything scary that happened was her fault. But Kana tells her that even though the demons were frightening, the person who came and saved them last night was truly amazing. After that, Kiyotsugu gathers everyone together to share some big news. But while looking around, he notices that Rikuo is missing, and Yuki explains that she has not seen him since the morning. Back at the mansion, Rikuo is actually lying sick in his bed, and Zen comes to visit him. Zen looks at him and says that he is even more pathetic when he is in his daytime form, and then he asks if Rikuo remembers anything about the raid from last night. Since Rikuo shakes his head and says he does not, Zen tells him that the version of Rikuo in his demon form is the one who should inherit the position of the third commander, and with that, Zen leaves the room. That's when Yuki shows up and starts talking non-stop about how she didn't even notice that Rikuo was absent from school today. Meanwhile, the Supreme Commander is sitting with two other people, and they talk about how Kyuso was actually being controlled by someone else who wanted to make sure Rikuo would not become the third commander. The commander then asks Gyuki about Rikuo's demon form, but Gyuki says they cannot say anything for now because Rikuo can only stay in his demon form for about 1/4 of a day. Later that day, Rikuo's friends arrive at the mansion to check on him, but they are shocked when they see Yuki already there. Rikuo quickly explains that she came to visit him first, and then Kana steps forward and gives him some medicine. Seeing that everyone is gathered, Kiyotsugu announces that this weekend they will meet a demon professor he contacted earlier, and he has even booked a hotel for them to stay in. When the weekend comes, Kana packs her things for the trip but feels jealous about how close Rikuo and Yuki have been lately. Just then, her phone rings and it's Rikuo. He directly asks her what a normal girl usually brings on a trip, which makes Kana wonder why he is asking. It turns out he is asking because he wants to bring Yuki along. Kana gives Rikuo some ideas while he writes them down in his notes, but then Kana suddenly hears Yuki's voice in the background, and Rikuo quickly hangs up the call before it goes any further. The next day, everyone gets on the train together, and Kana still feels jealous when she sees Rikuo bringing Yuki along with him. At the same time, on top of the train roof, Ayatabo is holding on tight because he wants to follow Rikuo and keep protecting him wherever he goes. After some time, they reach Yumeriquin and see a huge mountain in front of them that they have to climb up. While they are walking on the mountain trail, they run into a strange, ugly-looking man, who is the same demon professor that Kiyotsugu once told them about. Rikuo then asks the man about the grave that they found, and the man answers by saying he is called Umiya Kamaru, who is known as the main figure in the demon legend of this mountain. Afterward, the professor takes the group and leads them up a long set of stairs until they reach a landing, where everyone notices a giant claw stuck there, which proves that real demons live on the mountain. He then points out that Yuma Wakameru is waiting just above the next few flights of stairs. The professor also explains to them that Yuma Wakameru is a demon from an old story who lives at the very top of Uemi Rakuin and attacks unlucky travelers who get lost and even eat them. He also says that the mountain's real name is actually Mount Nejirim, which had been forgotten by most people. At that moment, Rikuo and Yuki both realize that the demon the professor has been talking about the whole time is none other than Gyuki. Afterward, they watch a statue and Professor is revealed to be a dummy controlled by a demon using strings. However, Yuki starts to think about how the Gyuki clan is known for being very skilled in fighting, even against members of the Nura family, so she worries that they might try to attack since Rikuo is still in his human form. Rikuo then tells Kiyotsugu that they should go back home now because Maki and Tori also want to leave. But Kiyotsugu replies that there are no more buses running at this hour and says that the professor's inn is closer and if they go there, they will be able to enjoy hot meals. Rikuo tries again to convince everyone to leave with him, but the professor insists that the story about Gyuki is only a legend, that the claw they saw was most likely fake, and that the security at the inn is strong enough to keep them safe if any real demon were to appear. After saying this, the professor heads off on his own, and the rest of the group begins walking toward his inn. Meanwhile, the professor notices Ayatabo climbing up the stairs, so he purposely misleads him to keep him away from Rikuo. Soon after, the demon with the skull of a horse for a head shows himself, and he is revealed to be Mizumaru, while his partner is introduced as Gazumaru. At that moment, Gazumaru speaks to Mizumaru and explains the details of their new plan. Gazumaru decides that his job is to split up the group and go after Yuki to kill her, while Mizumaru is given the task of dealing with the weaker members of the team. At the same time, the group makes it to the inn, and Rikuo immediately starts to feel that something is off and strange about the place. But the girls goes off to relax in the hot spring bath anyway. On the other side, Kiyotsugu talks to Rikuo and Shima, telling them that they should go out and hunt demons, even though the professor had warned them not to leave the inn so late at night. Outside the room, Yuki hears their whole conversation, and when Rikuo tries to stop Kiyotsugu and his friend from heading out on their own, Yuki quickly opens the door and says that she will go with them, so the four of them end up going outside together. Meanwhile, Mizumaru is making a plan to eat the two girls who are bathing along with the demons that serve under him. At the same time, Kana worries about where the others went and decides to search for them, so she steps outside on her own not knowing that Rikuo and the others have already gone far ahead. Meanwhile, Gazumaru watches them closely from high above the trees, and as he stares down, he remembers the moment when Gyuki gave both him and Mizumaru the strict orders to move against Rikuo Nura. Even now, it is clear that Gazumaru is deeply loyal to Gyuki, and he is willing to follow any command that is given to him, even if those orders go directly against the will of the Nura clan itself. At the same time, Yura walks quietly through the halls of the inn and soon realizes that there are no other guests anywhere, which feels strange, and then she suddenly sees dark smoke drifting out from the hallway. At that moment, the two girls are already facing Mizumaru and several demons, but Yura rushes in just in time and throws out her Shikigami, which immediately attacks the demons and forces them back. Meanwhile, Yuki and Rikuo become separated from Shima and Kiyotsugu while moving through the area, and during that moment, Rikuo notices Gazumaru suddenly trying to attack Yuki. When he strikes, his sword becomes frozen as Yuki reveals her demon form and begins to argue with him, but Gazumaru injures her badly. He then goes in for the kill to finish her off, but Rikuo jumps in at the last second and saves Yuki from the attack. Yuki tells Rikuo to step back because Gazumaru has come toward her with the clear intention of killing him, but Rikuo refuses and tells Yuki to move back instead, saying that he will protect her no matter what. Rikuo then asks Gazumaru if he is one of Gyuki's subordinates, and Gazumaru coldly answers that it is their boss's will for him to kill Rikuo. Meanwhile, Natsumi and Saori are running desperately to escape from the attacking demons, while Yura summons another Shikigami, this one taking the form of a samurai ready for battle. Seeing this, Mizumaru becomes frustrated because he wanted to finish the fight quickly and report his victory to Gyuki before Gazumaru could. Just as Yura launches an attack at him, Mizumaru jumps to avoid it, but suddenly, something powerful comes crashing down from the sky, and all of the demons along with Mizumaru are thrown forcefully into the water. However, the thing that comes crashing down turns out to be the crow people from the Karasu Tengu family, and they quickly take Mizumaru away with them. Just then, Ayatabo appears in the hot spring in his full demon form, but when he sees the girls there, he panics and immediately runs away after throwing Shima and Kiyotsugu back to safety. Meanwhile, Rikuo continues his fight with Gazumaru while still in his human form, which surprises Yuki because she didn't expect him to be that strong without transforming. Gazumaru is also shocked by how much power Rikuo has even in his normal form, and realizing this, he decides to show Rikuo his full ability by using the Shadow Claw technique. He strikes at Rikuo, who blocks and defends himself with his sword. But Gazumaru then begins a chant that paralyzes Rikuo, and 4 sharp claws suddenly grow from his hands. Yuki tries to rush forward to help him, but Gazumaru forcefully pushes her aside to keep her out of the way. Just as Gazumaru is about to strike Rikuo with a heavy attack, Rikuo reacts quickly and slices off his claws, causing Gazumaru to fall down and collapse on the ground in pain. At this moment, Rikuo has already changed part way into his demon form, showing his power. Meanwhile, back at the Nura family mansion, a party of demons is taking place, but Zen slips away to the commander's room and asks if Rikuo has gone to empty Nejirim. He also mentions that he has noticed something strange and unusual about Gyuki recently. But the commander answers that it is up to Rikuo himself to decide what to do with Gyuki. At the same time, Rikuo holds Yuki in his arms and explains to her that he changes into this form during the night. Over at the inn, Kyatsugu and Shima are shown resting together, while Natsumi and Saori sit at a nearby table, praising Yura for protecting them and also admiring the bird demon who came to help. Kyatsugu and Shima wake up and slowly creep toward the girls in a sneaky way. Kyatsugu asks them if they really saw a demon while he was not around, and Shima looks around and asks where Tsurara has gone. At the same time, Kana is feeling frustrated, and she suddenly slips and falls down the stairs after getting scared by the loud caw of a crow. Right then, she notices 2 strange flames glowing in the distance, and it turns out to be Rikuo walking toward her. She quickly realizes that this is the same man who came to her rescue earlier back at Kyuso's mansion. Rikuo is carrying Yuki in his arms and carefully hands her over to Kana, but Kana asks about Rikuo himself. He simply tells her not to worry about anything and to return to the inn safely. Afterward, Rikuo makes his way to the Gyuki mansion, where Gyuki is still sitting silently in front of a large Buddha statue. The crest of the Gyuki clan is shown clearly inside the mansion. Rikuo looks at him and asks what he has been thinking all this time. Gyuki answers calmly that he has been waiting for Rikuo's arrival. Afterward, Rikuo looks at Gyuki and demands to know why he tried to kill him in such a careless way, and he also asks if that attack from Kyuso was actually his doing as well. Gyuki ignores the question for a moment and instead asks Rikuo if he will turn back into his human form once the morning comes. Then Gyuki pulls out his sword and presses the blade against Rikuo's neck, but Rikuo firmly replies that ever since his demon blood awakened, his heart and will have not changed at all. Right after saying that, Rikuo draws his own sword, and the 2 of them clash with heavy strikes. Rikuo manages to push forward and even puts his sword against Gyuki's neck, but then they continue fighting again until both end up with their blades pointed right at each other's throats. At that moment, Gyuki tells Rikuo that he must answer his questions one by one, and he warns that if even a single reply does not satisfy him, he will slice off Rikuo's ears and then cut off his arms without mercy. Just then, the ghostly figures of Hebideu and Kyuso suddenly appear around Rikuo and demand to know if he has finally accepted his role as the 3rd commander. They try to strike at Rikuo, but he quickly slices through them and destroys their attacks. Right after that, Rikuo asks Gyuki what he plans to do once he kills him, and Gyuki replies that after finishing Rikuo, he will also take his own life. After this moment, a flashback begins showing Gyuki's past, where the entire country is suffering from a terrible catastrophe caused by endless war. In that time, there is a man named Yoshidano Shosho, who is both a high-ranking noble and a general of the Yoshida family. He has a wife named Hanako, but sadly she is unable to have children. Hoping for a miracle, she travels to Omi and prays at a shrine for a blessing, and then one night, while she is asleep, a glowing pink energy ball comes out from the shrine and goes straight into Hanako's mouth. Soon after, a baby boy is born to her, and they name him Yuma Wakamaru, and for a while the family begins to live happily together. However, his father eventually passes away, and Yuma Wakamaru, wanting to honor him properly, decides to follow a new path in life through prayer and study. His mother later remarries, but not long after, she falls seriously ill, and because of this Yuma Wakamaru gives up his studies and any chance at a normal future. During this time, Yuma Wakamaru is tricked by 2 women who lead him all the way to Mount Nejirim, where he makes the horrible discovery that his mother Hanako has been devoured by a terrifying demon. Filled rage, Yuma Wakamaru kills that demon who is known as Gyuki, but after that he begins attacking and devouring innocent travelers who lose their way on the mountain. Over time, Yuma Wakamaru becomes known as Gyuki, and some years later, after he has long forgotten about his parents and his past life, his clan ends up being confronted by the Supreme Commander. As they march forward toward Mount Nejirim, a thick fog spreads across the path and surrounds them, making the mountain even harder. The fierce battle between Gyuki and the demons rages on for 3 long days and 3 long nights without stopping, until finally the Supreme Commander Nararahayan overpowers Gyuki and defeats him. After this victory, the Supreme Commander does not destroy him but instead asks Gyuki to join as his ally, and 2 days later, Gyuki accepts his offer and swears loyalty to him. Back in the present, Gyuki manages to slice Rikuo across the chest and angrily threatens to kill him if he continues to deny that he is a demon. Despite the wound, the two of them charge at each other again, swords clashing violently, and Rikuo firmly declares that he will become the third commander no matter what it takes. Using all of his strength, Rikuo finally manages to strike back, cutting Gyuki across the chest, and Gyuki collapses to the floor, exhausted and injured. Sometime later, Gyuki wakes up and speaks to Rikuo with a serious tone, explaining that Mount Nejirim marks the western border of the Nura family territory and that he believes their family will one day face destruction. He also warns Rikuo that he will not forgive anyone who tries to destroy the Nura family, the family he once loved and cared for deeply. Just then, the Crow gang arrives on the scene, and they immediately become angry at Gyuki for everything that has happened, but Rikuo steps forward and stops them from attacking him. Gyuki then kneels in front of Rikuo and tries to commit seppuku, raising his sword to his own body, but Rikuo quickly breaks the blade to prevent him from harming himself. Gyuki asks Rikuo why he stopped him, saying that he must take responsibility for his own treason and that he cannot face Gazumaru and Mizumaru if he does not. Rikuo calmly replies that Gyuki would have likely killed himself anyway, no matter how strong he was, and that he should not end his life over something so trivial. However, the Crow gang says that the matter is serious, but Rikuo stands firm that Gyuki, as a member of the Nura clan, shall not die under his watch. Rikuo then turns and leaves, telling Gyuki to speak with his human form about whatever matters he needs to settle. The next day at the Nura mansion, Gyuki wakes up and Rikuo warmly welcomes him back home. But Gyuki asks if Rikuo remembers what happened the night before. Rikuo says that he remembers everything clearly. He then explains that he finally understands now because he has people he truly wants to protect, and he would be glad to have Gyuki back since he values him and thinks very highly of this family. After that, Rikuo leaves the room and runs into Yuki and Ayatabo, who questions why he would allow someone who once raised a sword against him to stay. Rikuo calmly replies that Gyuki is now part of their family, and they must treat him as such. Meanwhile, Yura and the others gather together after school, and Kiyotsugu and Shima once again express their desire to go demon hunting, with Yura agreeing to come along with them. Before the general meeting, everyone in the Nura house begins getting ready, preparing for the important event, but Yuki is shocked when she sees that Gazumaru and Mizumaru are going to be staying at their house for a while. Later, the general meeting finally begins, and all the demon officials arrive at the Nura house, each of them wondering quietly among themselves what Gyuki is doing there and why he has come. Afterward, the commander officially announces that Rikuo will take the position of third commander of the Nura clan. Rikuo steps forward to accept the role, promising that he will take care of everything, and then he calmly explains the situation with Gyuki to everyone present so that there is no confusion about what has happened and why Gyuki is now considered part of their family. The next day, Kana has a dream about her childhood when she was 6 years old, but she wakes up before she can remember everything clearly. Later at school, she finds herself unable to concentrate in class because she is still sleepy, and her thoughts keep drifting back to the dream. In that dream, someone shows her a mirror with her own reflection and says that when she grows up, they should play together again, making it a promise. Kana wakes up feeling confused and wonders what kind of promise that was and why it felt so important. Meanwhile, Shima is busy playing soccer outside while Rikuo, with Ayatabo's help, is throwing some trash away. At the same time, Yura is teaching Saori and Natsumi some basic fighting techniques, and then she calls Kana over to show her some of the same techniques as well. Just then, Kiyotsugu arrives and says that they should talk about their next demon hunting plan, interrupting the training. After their discussion, he gives a gift to Kana because it is her birthday, and when she opens the box, she is surprised to find that the present is a cursed doll. Kana then leaves, saying that she is tired and wants to get some rest, but as she walks, her thoughts keep drifting back to someone who had wished her a happy birthday and said that he would come for her. Meanwhile, Kiyotsugu tells the girls the story of the purple mirror, explaining that the demon is said to kill anyone who looks at him on their 13th birthday, the age that demons consider the start of adulthood. At that moment, Rikuo arrives and asks where Kana has gone. Meanwhile, Kana notices a strange presence chasing her on a bike, which suddenly passes right through her before stopping in front of her. The presence is revealed to be the mirror demon, who greets Kana in a creepy voice and says that he wants to continue from where he left off 7 years ago. Kana panics and runs as fast as she can, returning to school to hide. But then she remembers that 7 years ago, the mirror had told her he would come back on her 13th birthday and that she would see him in the mirror inside her purse. Acting quickly, Kana smashes her mirror, and once it shatters, everything suddenly seems to return to normal, and the mirror demon disappears. Suddenly, the doll that Kiyotsugu gave Kana started shaking violently, and they soon discovered that it had a hidden cell phone stuffed inside. Kana quickly shouts that she is being attacked by a mirror monster, and everyone rushes through the building, checking every washroom to try to find her. Just at that moment, Kiyotsugu enters her washroom, but he cannot see Kana because she is hiding inside the mirror, so he leaves, unaware of what is happening. Suddenly, the mirror becomes enraged and lunges at Kana, trying to swallow her. But Rikuo transforms into his demon form and leaps in to save her. Without wasting a second, Rikuo strikes and kills the mirror monster completely. And Kana, breathing heavily, thanks him for coming to her rescue and protecting her. Just then, Kana's friends started shouting outside, so she quickly made an excuse, saying that she was just thinking about something else and that it wasn't a demon at all. After that, Kana tells Rikuo in his demon form that she wants to learn more about him, so he decides to take her to a demon shop. The shop is crowded with demons that Rikuo knows, and as soon as they arrive, everyone begins celebrating Kana's birthday. Rikuo even gives her a new mirror as a gift because her old one had been broken. The next day, Kana asks Rikuo if the white-haired demon she saw the day before is one of his friends, curious to know more about him. At Monster Cat's place, a sudden strong wind blows and rips Saburo Nico's clothes apart, so he quickly goes to change into something else. At the same time, 3 strange people are standing on top of a tall building in front of the area, and they keep watching what is happening below. On the other hand, a small demon runs fast because he wants to find the supreme commander of the Nura family. But on his way, he bumps into Zeno and tells him that there is a commotion going on in the Monster Cat territory. Later, the supreme commander is sitting with a man who has a Joker-like face, and they start talking about the strange incident that happened in the Monster Cat territory. The Joker-faced man's name is Hi Hi, and he asks the supreme commander if he can be the one to take care of the problem. But the supreme commander does not allow him at first. Even then, Hi Hi explains that after he saw Rikuo become the 3rd commander yesterday, he now also wants to take some action. And because of that, the supreme commander finally agrees and tells him that he can go ahead and deal with the matter by himself. Later, it turns out that Hi Hi ends up getting killed by someone. And that same night, Ryo Taniko and Saburo decide to go into the forest to investigate his murder and see what really happened. As they look around carefully, they find out that someone used a sharp blade to slice through everyone, including Hi Hi and 9 other people, leaving them all dead. While they talk, Ryo Taniko remembers that just the other day he was caught off guard by a very strong gust of wind that rushed past him, and at that same time Saburo's clothes had looked like they were cut apart by something sharp like a blade. After some time, Rikuo and the others learn about Hi Hi's death, and Rikuo feels really bad and begins to wonder who could have done something like that. Just then, a female crow flies down to them and delivers a message saying that Karasu Tengu wants to meet them right away. When they arrive, Karasu tells Rikuo that because of the recent threats against him, he now has to raise his security, and from now on there will be 6 people always acting as his personal guards. Starting the next day, Kubanashi, Kappa, Kajoro, and Kuratabo will join Yuki and Ayatabo as Rikuo's attendants, and all of them will even go along with him to his school. Later at school, Kana starts to notice that Rikuo is acting really strange, and she even realizes that he hasn't smiled at all lately, but then they both go together to their classroom. At the same time, the Supreme Commander runs off to Yukio Town because he wants some personal time for himself, and while he is there, he spends a while staring at the middle school girls walking around and also at the tall buildings standing high above the streets. However, the same mysterious people who had appeared earlier on Bakaniko Street are secretly watching him again, and this time they are smiling as they keep their eyes on him. Later, while walking around and looking at the shops in the busy shopping district together with his demon companion, the Supreme Commander suddenly comes across Yura, who at that moment is going through a crisis because she is starting to feel troubled about her once strong and confident beliefs when it comes to fighting against demons. At school, Kiyotsugu tells Rikuo, Kana, and Tsurara that the Shikoku region has the biggest number of demons in all of Japan, and he seems very excited while explaining it to them. Meanwhile, as Yura is opening up and sharing her feelings with the Supreme Commander, they are suddenly attacked out of nowhere by a Kamaitashi demon named Muchi, who has the scary ability to control and manipulate poisonous wind. Without wasting any time, Yura quickly jumps forward to protect the Supreme Commander, and she manages to carry him away to the rooftop of a building where she believes he will be safe, though she has no idea at all that this old man she is trying so hard to protect is actually a demon himself. Meanwhile, Rikuo sees Karasu flying really fast in a rush, so he starts running after him but then slows down and wonders where Karasu is going so quickly. Just then, Ayatabo and another demon came over to him and asked if he also saw Karasu, saying that for some reason Karasu just kept flying and didn't notice any of them at all. Suddenly, Gazumaru and Mazumaru show up and tell them that they are searching for Karasu because the Supreme Commander has gone missing without leaving any word, so now everyone is out looking for him. After that, Rikuo and Yuki walk together toward their classroom, both thinking about what the commander might be doing right now. But when they enter the classroom, Kana once again feels jealous when she sees the two of them walking in together. At the same time, Yura beats the enemies she was fighting, and even the Supreme Commander is surprised and amazed to see how good her skills are. However, Yura suddenly gets struck from behind, and it turns out that the one who hit her is actually their boss. She struggles to stay on her feet and starts wondering if his poison has touched her. But even then, she quickly sends Tenru and her other Shikigami to attack him. The samurai spirit beside her warns that if she keeps trying to control 4 Shikigami at the same time, her body will not be able to handle the strain for long. Muchi then manages to overpower Tenru and the other Shikigami, and when he attacks Yura with his poisonous wind, her samurai steps in front and takes all of the damage to protect her. After this, Muchi confronts the Supreme Commander directly, while Yura runs up toward the rooftop. When they meet, the commander asks Muchi if he is the one who killed Hai, and it turns out that Muchi really is the one who murdered him, beating him around like a punching bag. Muchi then charges forward and tries to attack the commander, but the commander calmly blocks every single one of Muchi's attacks. The commander then pulls out his special dagger, and with one quick move he sends all of the wind that Muchi had created right back at him, before finishing the fight by striking and killing Muchi with a dagger. Just after this, Yura reaches the rooftop and sees the commander standing there alone, but he tells her that Muchi is already gone and she does not need to worry about him anymore. After a short while, the Supreme Commander also disappears from the place and later meets with Nat too, where he tells him that he will not be coming back home for some time. Meanwhile, after school, Yuki and Kana end up getting into an argument with each other, since both of them are feeling jealous of one another when it comes to Rikuo. But nearby Kappa and 2 other demons, who are guarding Rikuo, notice a strange shadow moving and decide to secretly follow it. At the same time, Rikuo tries to calm down both Yuki and Kana, but while doing so he accidentally trips over Kana's foot and stumbles forward. Afterward, a pale-skinned guy suddenly steps in front of Rikuo, grabs him by the shoulders, and he knows that Rikuo is the 3rd commander while another boy with an unusually long tongue stands beside him. The black-haired boy says that the 2 of them are very similar, both full of natural talent, and then he moves closer to Rikuo while telling him that Rikuo had everything from the very beginning. At the same time, the long-tongued boy grabs Kana and starts bothering her in a rough way, but Rikuo quickly catches his hand and firmly tells him to let her go. Rikuo then tries to calm Kana down while standing beside her, and together with Yuki, Anna, and Ayatabo, they all look in shock at 6 more figures who suddenly appear behind the black-haired teenager. The boy then reveals himself as Tamazuki and announces that they are going to take control of Kanto, introducing the group of 7, which includes Inugami, as the 7 Phantom Travelers, who are the leaders of the Hakuju demon of Shikoku. Later that night, Karasu flies around the Nura family mansion as he keeps searching for the Supreme Commander, while all of the other demons quietly hope that nothing bad has happened to him. After this, Rikuo sits down to eat his dinner, but to his surprise Karasu suddenly pops out of his food box, still busy looking for the commander. The girl sitting with Rikuo tells him that it is normal for their grandpa to disappear and then show up again without warning. But even so, Rikuo keeps thinking about Tamazuki, the person he had met earlier that day. At the same time, Tamazuki and his Phantom Travelers arrive at another place, where they begin talking about how the Supreme Commander Nurarahayan has been missing ever since the battle with Muchi. Tamazuki tells the others that they should begin by crushing the local Takagami, since they have become the main source of support for the Nura family, and if they destroy them then the very foundation of the Nura family will also fall apart. After saying this, Tamazuki asks if they should start causing trouble all over Yukio town, wrecking things as much as they want, because that way they can easily draw the attention of the Nura family. Later on, one of Tamazuki's members smashes down a building in the town, and 2 girls nearby hear the sound of someone laughing, which scares them, so Yura comes quickly to protect them, but right away she senses a strange and dangerous evil aura close by. Meanwhile, at the Nura family mansion, all the demons sit together beside Rikuo, and most of them keep thinking about Tamazuki and his 7 Phantom Travelers. After a while, the demons in the mansion begin to worry even more about those 7. But Yuki speaks up and tries to reassure everyone by saying that things will turn out fine and they do not need to panic. Right then, Yuki comes up to Rikuo and tells him that this is the perfect time for him to show his true strength as the young master of the Nura family. The next morning, Rikuo heads to school along with Yuki and Ayatabo, but on the way they keep reminding him that it is dangerous for him to just walk around outside like this without more protection. Later at school, Kiyotsugu shows everyone the news that a demon is the one responsible for causing the destruction in the town. Kiyotsugu says that he has read many true accounts about the 7 Phantom Travelers being seen around Yukio town, and then he introduces the 7 Phantom Travelers to the whole group. But even after that, Natsumi and Saori are still not convinced and do not believe him. Later that night, the Crow Gang are out in the city trying to protect it when the same bird demon from the night before suddenly comes back and starts throwing fire all around. But Yura quickly calls out Shikigami to put out the flames. Afterward, the bird demon tries to attack Yura directly, but the Crow Guardians rush forward to stop him, and he ends up flying away. When Kana finally gets home, she right away calls Rikuo and tells him everything that happened. Later that same night, the long-tongued boy from earlier sneaks into Rikuo's house while the meeting is still going on. Meanwhile, the long-tongued demon attacks and kills a male fish demon, and everyone rushes outside when they hear the noise and see the female fish crying loudly. Right after that, he changes his form into a dog demon, runs straight into the Nura house, and begins destroying everything inside. Rikuo and the others quickly try to chase after him, and before long they end up coming face to face with Tamazuki's gang. Tamazuki introduces himself again as the leader of the 88 Shikoku demon gods, and says his father is the head of the 800 Tanuki houses. Just then, Hai-Hai's son, Shui, shows up to confront him, but Tamazuki mocks his father, which makes Shui pull out his sword and charge. Yuki and the other demons rush forward as well. Suddenly, the firebird from before attacks and throws flames at Rikuo's gate. Everyone gets ready to chase, but Rikuo stops them, telling them not to follow. Kappa then uses his water powers to put out the fire. Later that night, Rikuo suggests inviting his friends to stay at his house for safety, but Yuki becomes jealous. The next day, Rikuo invites everyone to his house for the weekend, and they all agree to go. Kana asks if Yura will come too. Saori and Natsumi remember that Yura was hurt before, and Kana is about to apologize, but Rikuo cuts in, saying he will ask Yura later himself. After school, Yura tells Rikuo that she can't come with him because she has research to do. Rikuo thinks back to the incident at the park with Kana, but Yura quickly says that misfortune is falling on the people. Meanwhile, the demons of the Nura family work on repairing the house that was damaged the night before, and Yuki quietly prays for the fish demon who was killed. Meanwhile, the Supreme Commander and Nato are hiking up a mountain, where the commander notes that the place feels different from the last time he came here. Back in Yukio town, Gazumaru and Mazumaru hide on a tree branch in the forest where the bird demon had attacked the day before. From their spot, they spot a demon from last night, now disguised as a human. At the Nura house, Rikuo's friends finally arrive, and Rikuo asks Yuki to act as Kana's bodyguard. Although she keeps refusing at first, she reluctantly agrees in the end. Meanwhile, Gazumaru and Mazumaru ambush the disguised demon and manage to beat him down, but soon they are attacked by the same green demon who uses his strange ability against them. Left with no choice, Gazumaru and Mazumaru quickly run away. Back in the mansion, Rikuo leaves the others in the room and goes outside, where Kappa is hiding in the pool and tells him what is going on. After saying this, Kappa goes off to face the green demon, while at the same time Gazumaru and Mazumaru finally return to the mansion and start looking everywhere as they try to find Kappa. Rikuo shows up too, but he is already in his demon form now, and he tells Kappa very firmly that he should not destroy the strange plant while he himself takes on Ganji Kozo, and Kappa answers by saying he will try not to. Right after this, the fight starts as Ganji Kozo shoots out streams of water toward Kappa, and Kappa blocks the attack by making a big wall of water in front of himself. However, Yura runs out from the nearby forest and sees water shooting up from the plant with Rikuo standing on top of it. In that moment, Ganji Kozo keeps firing blasts of water at Kappa, but none of them hit because Kappa is able to block each one with his shield of water. Kappa then pushes back with a strong burst of water that knocks Ganji Kozo backward. After this, Kappa goes in for his final attack, and Ganji Kozo cries out as the heavy waves of water rush toward him. Just before he is struck, the bird demon recovers in time and swoops down to catch Ganji Kozo, carrying him away to safety. As they fly off, Rikuo comments that the Shikoku demon still fights with rough and unpolished skill. The bird demon answers by reminding Rikuo that they will have to meet again soon, while Ganji Kozo thanks him for saving him and calls him by his name, Inuho. Soon after, Yura arrives at the water purification plant but finds that everyone is already gone. At the same time, Rikuo changes back into his normal human form and makes his way back to the mansion. Later, Ayatabo and Kuratabo go into the Bakaniko area to look for Ryo Taniko and check on the restaurant. When they arrive, they notice a new waitress with long hair working there, and it turns out that she is actually one of the 7 phantom travelers. Ayatabo asks her who she is, and she answers by saying that she only started working at the place yesterday. All of a sudden, people begin shouting that an attack has happened near Otique Forest, and that someone has gone after the Nura family's leading council in the forest. The next day, Sasami reports in a meeting with the top officials of the Nura clan that Matanai Obake, who is the chairman of the Obake clan, along with his 3 bodyguards, have all been found badly injured. During the meeting, Hidetsum complains about how the Nura clan will take responsibility for both the injuries of Matanai Obake and the death of Hai-Hai, while Zen argues back that instead of blaming, they should focus on figuring out how to deal with the problem right now. Rikuo feels regretful about everything that has happened, and Sasami explains to him that Karasu Tengu discovered the attacks took place during the times when their security was at its weakest over the past few days, and that Matanai Obake had been ambushed while he was on his way to the Nura house. Meanwhile, Yura senses a demonic aura coming from a woman walking nearby, and it turns out to be the same woman who was seen with the 7 phantom travelers. The woman tries to attack Yura, but as soon as she realizes that Yura is an Onmyoji, she runs away. After this, Yura arrives at the Nura family house, where all of her friends are busy doing exercises together. Rikuo's maid gives Yura some homemade donuts, which makes her happy, and then Rikuo shows up and tells her that it looks like she has finally decided to join them. However, Yura explains to Rikuo that she was actually trying to destroy a demon and ended up chasing her all the way there. Later that evening, Yura finally leaves the Nura house, but the demon woman secretly starts following her from behind. Meanwhile, Kiyotsugu asks Rikuo to practice some techniques, but Rikuo suddenly senses that something feels wrong and quickly leaves. At the same time, Karasu Tengu gives Rikuo 2 sketches of Kajibari Anna and explains that he discovered she usually hangs around the Bakaniko and often approaches customers as well as important officials of the Nura clan. And hearing this, Rikuo transforms into his demon form. Afterward, they all head toward the Bakaniko shop, and on the way, Rikuo finds a piece of hair tied outside, but he breaks it without hesitation. At that moment, Kajibari suddenly feels a wave of fear and immediately runs away. Back at the Nura house, Shui and Zen are furious at Hidetsum for leaking information to the Shikoku demon. Even so, Rikuo forgives him, but Hidetsum tries to shift the blame onto Rikuo by saying it was his fault for not showing proper leadership, and right then, Rikuo himself arrives. Later that night, Kana sees Demon Rikuo standing on the sakura trees, but after looking at her for a moment, he turns and goes away. Meanwhile, Yura is walking down the street when she realizes that Kajibari is following her, so she leads her to an empty area nearby. Karasu quickly tells Rikuo that Yura has found Kajibari, and Rikuo rushes off. On the other side, Yura is getting overpowered as Kajibari uses her hair to throw her around. But then Kijoro arrives and saves Yura from being blown away. Kijoro strikes back with her hairpin attack, but just then, Rikuo and the Crow Gang show up, which makes Kajibari panic. Rikuo cuts off her hair but tells her he won't kill her because he doesn't fight women. Later on, Rikuo is in his demon form with Karasu by his side, and Gyuki starts to wonder if the enemies are planning to wipe out the whole Nura family. Gyuki believes that they will not stop until they launch one huge attack against them. The next morning, everyone wakes up in the mansion, and Kijoro talks to Yuki, telling her that Rikuo really loves her, so much that he even rushed in to save her. After that, everyone goes on with their normal daily activities, like working out and doing their own tasks, until Kiyotsugu suddenly calls everyone together. He explains to the other members of the Kaijuji Paranormal Patrol that many shrines of local gods in Yukio Town have been wrecked by some unknown person, and he tells them that they need to investigate the matter quickly. At the same time, Rikuo secretly has Ayatabo and the Samba Garesu act as his hidden escorts. After that, the whole group heads out together, and when they reach a shrine, they notice a torn kimono sleeve lying on the ground. From the bushes nearby, Yura steps out of hiding and immediately begins to suspect Rikuo. As the group keeps moving forward, Rikuo and Yuki come across another torn piece of kimono, and they bend down close to each other so they can inspect it better. Watching from a distance, Yura misunderstands the scene and thinks they are kissing. She then walks over to Rikuo and warns him by saying that if he tries to chase after 2 rabbits, he will not be able to catch either one, and then, she turns away and leaves. Meanwhile, the Supreme Commander Nararahayan and Nato Kozu run into a huge demon who suddenly tries to attack them. But the commander looks at him closely and remembers that they met a long time ago, almost 300 years back, and that his name is Danuki. At the same time, Rikuo gives orders to his attendants to spread out and guard the rest of the shrines in Yukio Town so that no more are destroyed. Meanwhile, Kiyotsugu and Shima arrive at one of the shrines that is being targeted by Lord Sodamoji, the one behind all the vandalism. When Lord Sodamoji tries to put a curse on Kiyotsugu by pulling on his sleeve, Shima quickly kicks a soccer ball straight at him, stopping the curse in time and breaking the attack. Making sure that Kiyotsugu and Shima are safe, Rikuo and Surara chase down Lord Sodamoji and manage to corner him, but before they can finish the fight, Inuho and Tirai Oni suddenly jump in to block their way. The battle heats up until Ayatabo and the Samba Garesu quickly show up on the scene to help. Inuho ends up being burned alive by the fiery attack of the Samba Garesu, while Tirai Oni struggles against Ayatabo's strength and is finally forced to pull back and retreat. Afterward, Rikuo and the others head over to another shrine and see that it has already been completely destroyed, which makes Rikuo think that the enemies have been planning everything far ahead of time. On the other side, the girls wander into a forest and come across a shrine, but it looks so old and worn out that they cannot even tell if it is broken or if it was already like that. At that moment, Rikuo and the others show up there too, and he tells everyone that it is time to head back home since it will get dark soon. Later on, everyone gathers at the Nura mansion for dinner, where Natsumi quietly folds and makes little paper cranes. Rikuo, however, keeps thinking about what happened the night before, and he tells Yuki that his grandpa explained to him that even though the Takagami are weak, the Nura family has still been borrowing their strength to carry on. Meanwhile, Natsumi carries a bunch of paper cranes in her hands and accidentally runs into Kuretabo in the hallway. But since she has no idea that he is actually a demon, she simply smiles at him politely and keeps on walking. After that, Karasu Tengu speaks with Rikyuo and Yuki, explaining that the small shrine they saw belongs to a local deity named Lord Senba. He also tells them that Lord Senba is an old Takagami who has the special power to heal people from different illnesses. On the other hand, Natsumi goes to visit Senba's shrine all by herself, still holding her paper cranes, and just as she bows her head to pay her respect, Lord Sotomoji suddenly appears and demands that she honor and respect him instead. Right when he tries to launch his attack against her, Kuretabo suddenly shows up throwing Sotomoji away from her. Shortly after, Rikyuo and Yuki manage to get there and Sotomoji quickly runs away, but they right away notice that Natsumi's eyes have become completely blurred. Afterwards, Natsumi gets taken to the hospital where she gets admitted, and when Rikyuo and Kuretabo get there, they meet Senba, who tells them that beating Lord Sotomoji might be the only way they can break the curse that got put on Natsumi. As the moon starts to rise up in the night sky, Rikyuo transforms into his demon form, and then, they start following Lord Sotomoji through the thick woods to find him. When Lord Sotomoji reaches a large shrine that belongs to Princess Coke, Kuretabo steps in and quickly defeats him with ease. Before dying, Lord Sotomoji tells Rikyuo that even with his loss, Natsumi will still fall to the curse no matter what. However, because Natsumi's friends hang paper cranes all over Senba's shrine and pray for her, she recovers from the curse after seeing a vision of Lord Senba standing by her side at the operating table. By the next day, Natsumi is full of joy and goes with her friends to happily visit Senba's shrine once again. Meanwhile, Inugami starts acting restless around Tamazuki and begs him to let him wipe out the Nura family himself. Over at Shikoku Mountain, Danuki explains that he is no longer the kind of demon who once ruled over hundreds of demons in the past. But the Supreme Commander, Nurarahayan, tells him that Hai has already been killed and that Muchi is the one who took his life. After hearing this, Danuki reveals an important truth that Tamazuki is actually the 8th son of his 88th wife, and because of this, he was born with special supernatural powers. After that, Nurarahayan asks Danuki about the 7 phantom travelers, and Danuki warns him seriously that Inugami is a violent and very dangerous demon who cannot be trusted. Meanwhile, Inugami grows impatient and burns with bloodlust for Rikyuo. He tells Tamazuki that Rikyuo is weak and has no real strength, yet he is still trying to take control of the Nura clan. Hearing this, Tamazuki calmly tells Inugami that he can do whatever he wants. On the other hand, Rikyuo is sitting around playing card games with Shima and Kiyotsugu, not realizing at all that Inugami has already slipped inside their house. Rikyuo's demon allies stay on guard nearby, thinking to themselves that the Shikoku demons are planning something bigger, most likely a plot to wipe out the local deities, and they suspect that Tamazuki and the others will soon make a move against Rikyuo as well. Meanwhile, Kiyotsugu tells the group that someone left a message in his news bulletin, claiming that a projector in the auditorium of the old school building is haunted by a demon. After hearing this, everyone decides to go check it out, but Rikyuo tries to stop them from leaving the Nura mansion. Just then, Rikyuo gets a phone call from Inugami, who is the one that posted the rumor online about the haunted projector. However, Kana and the others leave for the old school but run into Yura on their way. And during the walk, Kiyotsugu shows off a wooden sword that he unknowingly got tricked into buying. Once they all reach the old school building, the group steps inside the dark auditorium. Kiyotsugu and Shima head up to the projection room to take a look around, while Rikyuo finally shows up outside. At the same time, Rikyuo's demon attendants fight their way into the building, which is now swarming with demons all over. Yura quickly begins to lead the girls out to safety, while Rikyuo gets ready to rescue Kiyotsugu and Shima from inside. Just then, Inugami steps out from the shadows and blocks his path, calling Rikyuo out for siding with humans instead of demons. Rikyuo's attendants rush in and surround Inugami. After this, Inugami's past is revealed, showing how he once tried to live among humans and always forced himself to act like one of them. But no matter how hard he tried, people only called him ugly and scary, pushing him away and making him feel unwanted. When he finally turned into a demon, he had no idea that there was an entire world filled with other demons, and he wandered around lost until the day Tamazuki accepted him. Back in the present, Inugami grows furious and changes into his demon form, which is a large dog, but this time his head separates from his body and flies straight toward Rikyuo. Meanwhile, Yura fights to protect the other girls by using her Shikigami to drive away the demons around them. Back in the battle, just as Inugami is about to strike Rikyuo, Yuki suddenly rushes in and shoves him aside and saves Rikyuo from the attack. After that, Inugami tries once more to attack Rikyuo, but Yuki steps in front to protect him. At the same time, Kubanashi throws out his threads and manages to wrap them tightly around Inugami, holding him down. As he struggles, Inugami remembers his past again when Tamazuki first invited him to become one of his comrades. With his arms tied behind his back and forced to kneel on the floor, Inugami asked Tamazuki why he had to suffer like this. Standing nearby, Muchi and Kajibari Anna watched as Tamazuki told him that he only wanted to see how powerful Inugami really was. Inugami shook his head and said he was not strong, but Tamazuki coldly told him that in that case, he could die, since a weak demon would only end up being hated and despised by humans anyway. Traumatized by everything in his past, Inugami gathers all his strength and makes his head fly off his body for the very first time. With this power, he wipes out Tamazuki's henchmen one after another, shocking everyone. Tamazuki himself then walks up to him, impressed by the raw strength he is showing. Back in the present, Inugami grows furious and shouts that Tamazuki is the strongest and that he can rule over everyone. But when Rikuo tells him that he is wrong, Inugami's body starts to shake and rumble. His form begins to change as his body and head both grow rapidly larger until he breaks free from the threads holding him and transforms himself into one giant beast-like dog. Meanwhile, Shima and Kiyotsugu are still struggling to get the old projector working. Kiyotsugu tells Shima to go check out the strange noises while he stays behind to keep trying to fix the projector. When Shima goes to investigate, he notices that the big lecture hall screen has a huge tear in it, and when he peeks through the rip, he sees the gigantic leg of Inugami. Terrified, he gets back as fast as he can toward the projection room. Meanwhile, Inugami's dark power keeps growing stronger, and Rikuo's demons are quickly knocked down one after another. Later that night, Rikuo changes into his demon form and he slashes Inugami with ease. After the battle, Rikuo follows Inugami outside the main school building, where Inugami reverts back to his human form after being completely defeated. Suddenly, Tamazuki appears out of nowhere, threatening Rikuo's life while also retrieving Inugami. Later that night, the sky gets covered with thick dark clouds, and several demons come down from above as they all head straight to meet Tamazuki. The next day at school, Rikuo is sitting with Yuki and Ayatabo, and the three of them talk about Tamazuki, while Rikuo says that it feels good to know Tamazuki has said he will not hurt his friends or the people living in the town anymore. On the other side, Kiyotsugu gets mad because he still does not see any demon at all, but the others tell him that he should be glad and call it luck that he never spots one. Even so, Kiyotsugu tells Shima that they are going to set up another training camp at Rikuo's house so they can catch more demons, and Shima quickly says yes to the idea. However, not long after that, Shima and the rest of the group go against his plan and they all say that they do not agree with what Kiyotsugu wants to do. Meanwhile, Danuki goes to the Supreme Commander and tells him that Tamazuki might be carrying a legendary treasure with him, but the Supreme Commander wonders aloud if it could actually be the Demon Lord's gavel. However, Danuki answers that he cannot say for sure but explains that ever since the day Tamazuki took hold of the treasure, he has completely changed and has turned into a spirit who no longer sees his comrades as his real comrades anymore. At the same time, Tamazuki steps out onto a high balcony to face the new demons that have gathered, and he shows them a sword glowing with a strange purple aura. However, Tirai points out to everyone that this sword is the Mao's hammer, and once the demons hear and see this, the entire crowd begins to shake in fear and cower before its terrifying power. At night, the Nura house is placed under tight watch with many Nura clan demons standing guard to make sure nothing strange happens. As he heads inside for a meeting with Yuki, Karasu Tengu, Zen, and Rikuo, Makujio Daruma looks up and notices the spiraling clouds that twist across the sky above. The group can clearly see how serious the situation is becoming as the new demons continue to gather in large numbers over Yukio town. Yuki speaks up and predicts that there will soon be a full-scale attack aimed directly at the Nura clan. While this is happening, Yuki spots Shui sitting alone outside, so she walks over to him. Shui opens up and says that he would have chosen to blend in with humans and live a quiet life in peace, but he explains that such a choice was taken from him after his father was murdered, leaving him tied to the world of demons. In the Nura house at night, while all the demons are asleep together in the common room, Shui quietly slips past them, which ends up waking Yuki from her rest. Kajoro also stays awake and asks Yuki what is troubling her, and Yuki admits that she feels uneasy, while Kajoro agrees that the heavy demon aura surrounding the area makes the air unsettling. It is then revealed that Shui has gone out in search of the Yukio town skyscraper that the Shikoku demons have already taken over. The Samba Garesu arrives in time to rescue Shui and manage to hold off Tirai Oni while doing so. After being brought back to the Nura house, Shui rests to recover, and Rikuo receives encouragement from Zen, Yuki, and Karasu Tengu, who all tell him that he should create his own night parade of 100 demons since Nurarahayan already has one of his own. Later, during a sake ritual, Surara, Ayatabo, Kuratabo, and Kubanashi each pledge their loyalty to Rikuo. With Shui still holding tightly to his need for vengeance, Rikuo finally begins the path of forming his very own night parade. The next day, Danuki and the Supreme Commander make their way back to Yukio Town. Along the way, Danuki asks if he has ever heard of the Tamazusa plant. When the Supreme Commander doesn't seem to know, Danuki begins explaining. He tells him that about 1,000 years ago, retired Emperor Sutoku raised an army to fight against the emperor at the time, Emperor Go-Shirakawa. However, Sutoku's forces were defeated, and afterward he was exiled to the very place they are now traveling through Sanuki province. People say he spends the rest of his life there, and every time he hears the chirping of the nightingale, his eyes fill with tears because it makes him think about the ancient capital he once left behind. The story goes that the nightingale feels so sad about this that it wraps its own beak with a Tamazusa leaf so it will stay quiet. While this is happening, an explosion goes off in the mountains, and a crow rushes out in fear, but some kind of black power reaches out as if it wants to grab him. Even though the force tries hard, the crow manages to break free and get away. After escaping, the bird heads toward the Nura family's home, and when it gets close, someone there notices it flying in. Soon after, a demon from the Nura clan also spots it and quickly speaks up to let everyone else know what is going on. The crow finally lands, and he is hurt from his escape, so Rikuo tells him to take it easy and rest. But the crow insists on speaking and says that a massive army, believed to be the enemy Shikoku demons, has rushed through Chichibutage. Hearing this, Ayatabo feels thrilled because he thinks his chance of fighting is finally coming soon. Kuretabo then remembers that their fortress at Chichibo Pass was judged unsafe a while back and had already been evacuated, so he wonders why a messenger would still come from such a place. Kubanashi explains to everyone that some of their demon chose to stay there anyway, even if it meant risking their lives, so that they could pass along important news until the very end. At the same time, the commander is traveling on a train with Danuki, and Danuki in his human form starts talking about how Shikoku was always known as a treasure land full of demons, while the commander answers by saying that there was even a time long ago when the number of Tanuki was greater than the number of humans. Later, in the streets, Kana runs into Tamazuki, who claims that he is similar to Knight Rikuo, but Kana strongly disagrees with him. Yura quickly steps in to protect Kana from Tamazuki, which makes Tamazuki stumble back a little. Meanwhile, Rikuo sits calmly in the foyer of the Nura house, offering sake to anyone willing to join his night parade. At the same time, Tamazuki and the 7 phantom travelers move out to fight, and along the way, Tamazuki uses the Devil's Blade to kill several members of the 88 demons of Shikoku so he can absorb their power and grow stronger. Before Demon Rikuo and his night parade set out for battle, Hidetsum stands in their way, warning them about the recklessness of this mission. Even so, Gyuki believes there is still hope, and Rikuo gathers and mobilizes his night parade. Afterward, everyone from the Nura family heads out for their final battle against Tamazuki and his group, and Ayatabo decides that he will act as a decoy, thinking it will make it easier to throw the enemy into confusion. Meanwhile, at Kana's house, while the 2 girls are taking a bath together, Yura suddenly asks Kana why she was with that strange guy earlier. Kana explains that the reason she was with him is because he has the same scent as someone else she knows. She goes on to tell Yura that the other person she is talking about is frightening in many ways, but for some reason, she always feels calm and safe whenever she is near him. Yura then looks at her and asks if the person Kana is describing is actually the demon who came to save them before. Meanwhile, Gazumaru and Mizumaru disguise themselves, one as a girl and the other as an ugly-faced man, as they move through the streets. They run into some members of the Shikoku demons, who stop them and ask if they are the escorts that Tamazuki has prepared for them. From this conversation, Gazumaru and Mizumaru learn that Tamazuki now possesses the Devil's Blade, which makes them uneasy. Just at that moment, Tamazuki appears along with Inugami and some of their old enemies, and Gazumaru and Mizumaru see the Devil's Blade shining in Tamazuki's hands. Without hesitation, Tamazuki attacks them, putting them immediately in danger. Afterward, Rikuo and his demon gang arrive at the scene, but Tamazuki quickly reveals his true form to everyone, showing just how powerful he has become. Immediately, both Tamazuki's demon gang and Rikuo's group charge at each other, and the battle begins in full force. As the fight continues, Rikuo faces off directly against Tamazuki, trading blows in a fierce spar. During the fight, Rikuo is knocked on his knees when Yosizum blinds him using her black feathers, leaving him vulnerable. When Rikuo refuses to join Tamazuki's ranks, Tamazuki tries to kill him without hesitation, but Tsurara arrives at the perfect moment and blocks the deadly attack just in time. Yosizum then uses her powers to blind Tsurara as well as all the other dueling demon, including Kajoro and the others, leaving them unable to see. Meanwhile, Kuretabo and Shui come across Gazumaru and Mizumaru, who are badly injured from the ongoing battle. It is then revealed that Tsurara had frozen her left eye while her right eye was blinded by Yosizum, allowing her to keep fighting despite the attack. Using this advantage, Tsurara defeats Yosizum by completely encasing her in ice and after that, restores everyone's eyesight so the other fighters can continue the battle. Meanwhile, Yura runs as she feels the presence of a demon, but Kana chases after and tries to stop her, but she just runs away. On the other hand, Rikuo and Tamazuki are head-on-head fighting while Zen treats some of the demons, but Shui brings Gazumaru and Mazumaru and tells Zen to treat them. On the other hand, Aotaba is fighting with a bald demon while Kappa and others are fighting against other demons of Tamazuki. But Aotabo becomes furious and grabs the bald demon, breaking his arm before delivering a powerful punch that sends him reeling. Meanwhile, the other members of Rikuo's gang take control of the rest of Tamazuki's demons, forcing them to surrender one by one. Tamazuki then turns to Rikuo and tells him that the battle is not going the way he expected, adding that he had already predicted that Rikuo's demons are weaklings compared to his own. After saying this, Tamazuki raises his devil's blade and, in a shocking move, kills his own demons, including the old lady who had been part of his team, showing just how ruthless and unpredictable he really is. Meanwhile, Kiyotsugu and others head toward the city after learning that demons have been spotted there, moving quickly to investigate the situation. At the same time, Yura uses her Shikigami to fight the demons she sees in the city, protecting civilians and keeping them safe from harm. All of a sudden, Yura finds herself standing right in front of Tamazuki, who stops what he is doing and asks her if she happens to be a non-Mayuji. She right away tells her Shikigami to go after him and attack, but Tamazuki very easily kills all of them using his sword without any trouble and then grabs Yura with his strings, making her trapped so she cannot move or get away. Right when the whole situation starts to become really dangerous and bad for her, Rikuo shows up at the scene and saves her, pulling her away from the danger before Tamazuki gets the chance to hurt her even more than he already has. While Rikuo's demons work really hard to hold Tamazuki back and keep him from going after Rikuo, Inugami all of a sudden show up out of nowhere and grabs Kana, taking her away so he can use her as a bargaining chip to try to get control of the situation. But instead of trying to make a deal or talk things out, Tamazuki coldly kills Inugami without any mercy, and Inugami remains faithful to Tamazuki right up until the very end, not showing any signs of being scared even when he knows he is about to die. Right after he takes in all of Inugami's power and puts it into the devil's blade to make it stronger, Tamazuki turns around to look directly at Rikuo, getting himself ready for one final big fight that will determine who wins and who loses in their whole battle. At the same time, the Supreme Commander and Danuki continue to ride on the train as it moves towards the town where everything is happening. At the same time, Yuki starts to wonder what kind of special power Tamazuki really has as they all stand there facing him and getting ready to fight. As Tamazuki gets stronger and more powerful from using Mao's hammer, Shui takes a step forward because he wants to fight Tamazuki himself. But Rikuo tells him to move back and stay away because he is not in good enough condition to fight right now. Rikuo says that a true leader has to give his own body and soul to protect everyone else. Rikuo lifts up his sword and gets ready to fight, while Kana and Yura watch everything that is happening from nearby where they are standing. Tamazuki then starts to move forward so he can attack Rikuo, but Rikuo quickly dodges out of the way and jumps to another building to get away. At the same time, Kiyotsugu and the other people also come over to join Kana and Yura, and he tells them that he feels really glad that all the members of his team are doing okay and not hurt. Meanwhile, Rikuo and Tamazuki continue their fierce sword fight, clashing with such force and speed that their auras spread out in all directions, shocking Kuretabo, who has never seen a battle this intense before. Watching from nearby, Yura and Kana observe the fight, and Yura comments that it looks like a battle between monsters, but Kana shakes her head and says that anyone who protects humans cannot be a monster. Rikuo and Tamazuki keep fighting relentlessly, and as the night stretches toward morning, everyone grows worried that Rikuo might revert to his normal form, which could change the outcome of the battle. Rikuo makes a promise that he will not lose this fight because he is carrying all of his friends on his back and fighting for them. Tamazuki makes fun of him and asks him if his friends are human or if they are demon instead. Tamazuki says that Rikuo cannot say that they are both things at the same time, because if he does say that it would mean that he is really weak and not strong enough. Tamazuki says again that he promises to make Rikuo join his own Hyaki Yako whether Rikuo wants to or not, and then Tamazuki starts to grow much bigger in size than he was before. Because they are worried and concerned about what might happen to Rikuo, his friends start to make plans about how they can help him in this fight, but then they realize that they are way too weak to actually help him at all. All of a sudden, cherry blossoms begin to fall down from the sky and Tamazuki grabs hold of Rikuo, but then he gets scared of Rikuo, who then disappears completely and shows up again right behind Tamazuki. Even though Tamazuki's power slowly starts to fade away and get weaker, the Supreme Commander just gets in the way and stops Rikuo from giving Tamazuki the final hit that would end the fight. Danuki gets really angry at Tamazuki for all the terrible and awful things he has done and asks all the demon to please forgive him for what happened. 2 days pass by, and then Rikuo finally wakes up and gets better from a very deep sleep that he was in. Nurerahayan explains to Rikuo that Tamazuki and Danuki have now gone back to their home in Shikoku where they belong. Rikuo sits down and has a toast with his attendants and all the council members to celebrate that everything worked out okay. With life at the Nura house going back to being normal like it was before, Rikuo's friends decide to come by the house for a visit, but Kana starts to think and suspect that Rikuo looks kind of similar to Rikuo in some ways. How long do you think it will take for Rikuo to fully master his powers and lead the Nura clan with confidence? Comment Demon if you'd like a part 2 of this series. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.